Good morning. We are here at shul.com. We are reading from Kitzur Shulchan of Hazon Ovadia, Perek Aleph, Dineh Umanhige Hanukkah. So we're discussing all the stuff of Hanukkah from Chacham Ovadia Yosef. Today is his yahrzeit. Chacham Ovadia Yosef ben Gurjiyeh, Ruach Adonai Tanichenu Began Eden. And so Bezrat Hashem, this will be an elevation for his neshama. Hesped v'Taanit. Aleph, Yemei HaChanukkah Asurim beHesped u'Taanit. On the days of Hanukkah, there's no eulogies and there's no fasts. V'davka Yemei Hanukkah atzmam. That's the actual 8 days of Hanukkah. Aval erev Hanukkah u'machorat Hanukkah mutarim beHesped u'Taanit. The day before Hanukkah and the day after would be okay. Nefilat apayim. Yancha and sidkatecha. Yancha, we say it in Shacharit. You have Nefilat apayim, it's Devay Ya'avor, and sidkatecha you have on Shabbat. So, bechol shemonat yemei Chanukah en noflim al penehem. No Tachanun at all on Chanukah. V'chein b'mincha shel erev Chanukah. Also right before Chanukah. V'en omrim mizmor yancha Hashem. U'b'shabbat Chanukah en omrim sidkatecha b'mincha. So the whole week there's completely no Tachanun mention of any kind. Hesped lechacham. Let's say a rabbi or someone of the community that's a hacham, intelligent teacher, passes away. Do you do a eulogy on him? Gimel, ein mespedim Chanukah ela tamid chacham bifanav. They only do a hesped for a tamid chacham in front of him. So, what does that mean in front of him? Let's see if he mentions it on the bottom. Let's see. V'af beyamenu. I'm assuming befanav. Befanav means that the casket is in front. You understand? Or at the cemetery. Yeah. Bifanav, not just in a shul as a eulogizing someone that passed away, but not with the body. Okay, he says today we have this. Oh, he mentions it here. So he says here that it's specifically at the funeral. After the kibura, after the cemetery and the body, that's it. Don't do it at all. So someone who teaches children Torah, or he has a kiviut of Torah, meaning the guy, he comes every day in the morning to learn or at night to learn. This guy comes to the Beit Midrash, that's called a Tamid Hacham. If most of the eulogies praising the person's good deeds, and other people are going to see it and be appreciative, and with all the kaddishim that is said on the people that pass away, and it brings up the soul from level to level, Began Eden, נאותה היא להחדיר אז בלב האבלים יראת השמיים וחיזוק בשמירת תורה ומצוות ובחינוך פניהם לתורה. So he says, if people are going to learn and you learn good midot from a person, a Tamid Hacham that passed away, then and it's bifanav and it's at the funeral, then it's worthwhile to say those positive words so people could learn something. Siduk hadin, dalit. Meikar adin haya ra'ui lomar siduk adin al hamet beChanukah. So siduk adin is when someone's going to pass away, they do a special tefillah with the person if he's able to do it, or they do it for him by his bedside while he's still alive.
Right before.
If they know, or if they. Kedat maran hashulchan aruch. Aval ha'acharonim katvu shehaminhag ata kedibnei Rama. So the Achronim wrote that we followed the Ramah. Any day that you don't do any type of Tachanun or Vidui, you don't do the Siduk Hadin. He says every place should do according to their custom. But a Chacham, you do it on any day, it doesn't matter. Seudat Havra'a, hey, let's see here. That is hakoveret meto beChanukah osim lo seudat havra'a beugot bekafe. A person who has someone who passed away on Chanukah, they do the seudah havra'a right after. They finish the burial with cakes and coffee. V'lo bebetzim v'adashim, not with eggs or with lentils, which are round. Kinhog bechol yimot hashana, like people do throughout the whole year. Aliyah lakevet. going to the cemetery. That sometimes people go to the cemetery the first 7 days. On the 30th day, don't do it on Hanukkah. Because people are going to cry, they're going to eulogize. Because they see the cemetery and that and those feelings will be aroused. Go after Hanukkah. The person should go after. Taanit, yard site. The fast on the yard site on the day that someone passed away, fasting every year. Zayin. Aval shechal yom pikudat hashana al aviv o imo. Only for father or mother. He's saying here, if that day came, the yard site. Yard site means like a yearly anniversary. Be'achad mimei Hanukkah asur lo leitanot beHanukkah lechvod aviv imo. A person should not fast on Hanukkah. V'imchad be'erev Hanukkah, and mutar lehitanot. But if it was on the erev Hanukkah, the night is Hanukkah, that day earlier, that would be allowed to fast that day. Taanit chalom. If a person wants to fast because he had a dream that wasn't a nice dream. Het. Hamit'aneh ta'anit halom b'Hanukkah. Someone who fasts on Hanukkah because he had a bad dream that really affected him, he wanted to fast. Sarich litanot yom echad le'achar yemei Hanukkah. If he fasts on Hanukkah, then he has to fast another day after Hanukkah to make up for the mistake of fasting on Hanukkah. Dechaper al ma she'it'ana b'Hanukkah. Kedin hamit'aneh ta'anit halom b'Shabbat. Umi she'it'ana ta'anit halom b'Shabbat Hanukkah. Someone who fasted on Hanukkah, that's also Shabbat, or beRosh Chodesh Tevet, or on the Rosh Chodesh, afa pi sheshte kedushot hen, meaning he violated the Hanukkah kedusha and he violated the Shabbat Hanukkah or the Rosh Chodesh Hanukkah. Da'ilo litanot achet Hanukkah yom echad lechaparato. He only has to refast one day. You don't have to say that he fasted on Shabbat, so he has to fast one, and then he has to fast again for Hanukkah. So they're saying on Hanukkah, don't fast, don't do those things. Asiyat melacha nashim. Women, can they do work on Hanukkah? Tet. Nohagot hanashim shelo la'asot melacha be'od shnerot haNukkah dolkim. Whenever the candles are still lit, women took a custom not to do any work. B'meshech chatzi sha'a me'hadlakatam. 30 minutes after they're lit, everyone should stay in the room and not do any work. V'hatam hu mishum heked lehodia she'asur l'shtamesh le'or nerot Hanukkah. In order so people see that you're not supposed to use the lights. So he's talking specifically about work like sewing, crochet, washing, cooking and baking. That's okay. If she wants to do work in the kitchen, okay, that's not a big deal. And you have some women, they're mahmir. They decided Hanukkah, they take off the full 8 days, they don't want to do any work. You should tell them not to do that. Because being batel goes into the boredom, and then boredom goes to sin. So you should tell the women not to do any type of work that's like a physical laborious task. He says here, okay, washing and sewing. B'yom Rishon or B'yom Shemini Shel Hanukkah. The first and the 8th day of Hanukkah, which is the Ikar days, the main ones, not to do any type of laborious work. Asiyat melacha anashim. So for men, Yud, ha'anashim enam nimna'im b'shum melacha b'Hanukkah. Men don't prevent any type of not doing work on Hanukkah. They work the whole Hanukkah. Even when the candles are lit, men can go around doing work. That's the custom. Maybe you have some men today that they hang around the candles for 30 minutes. He's saying here they could do work. For kol sheken beyamenu habayit mu'ad be'or hachashmal. Today that we have our homes that are all have electricity and lights. No one thinks you're going to use the nerot Hanukkah as a light in the room, because you have more light coming from the external sources. If someone took a custom that the first 30 minutes after the candles are lit, he's not going to go and do any work, it's a good custom. It's okay. Today, if a person has the ability to do it, it's probably better to do it. Su'udot, Hanukkah, mitzvah or reshut. Do you have to have meals on Hanukkah? When it came to Purim, there's a mitzvah to have a seudah on Purim, to wash your hands, nitilat yadayim, hamotzi. So the question is, on Hanukkah, do we have the same exact thing? So you're saying no. Let's take a look. Yud Aleph. Yesh omrim shedibu yaseudot shemerabim bahem b'yemei Hanukkah enam ela seudat hareshut. Some say that having a lot of meals on Hanukkah is just reshut. It's optional. The rabbis never said Hanukkah was for eating and happiness, but rather for praising Hashem. That was what Hanukkah was for, about light, spirituality, and praising Hashem. Some argue, they say no, you're supposed to have a lot of meals. In Hanukkah, Gimel-Gimel, he said, over there in the Yad HaChazakah, shekevaum li'imei simcha v'halil. So Harambam added a word in there that he said it's not only halil ul-hodot, but he says also simcha, to be happy. V'yesh omrim sheyesh ksat mitzvat beribuy seudot, and you have a little bit of a mitzvah in that. Mishum shebe'otan hayamim hayta Hanukkah hamizbeach shel bet hashmonai. He says because at that time they were doing the re-inauguration of the Mizbeach inside of the Beit HaChashmonim, the Beit HaMikdash, when the Chashmonim went in. You have to sing to Hashem, they do Ma'asud, Hashem Yitbarach b'su'udot halalu, va'az nechshavot l'su'udat mitzvah. Okay, su'udat mitzvah. So he says here, if you're going to use the meal in order to do Zmirot and Tishbachot to Hashem and to praise God, and you're going to discuss what happened in the battle, and people are going to be elevated from the meal. Then he said, do it. He said, then you have, there's some purpose to it. He says, but if it's just going to be a meal just for the sake of having a party, he said, probably not. He said, speak Torah on them, so that people get closer to their Father in heaven. That's in Daniel, Yud Bet Tashkimel. Va'az bevadai shenechshavot haseudot halalu l'mitzvah. He said, then for sure, those meals will be meals of a mitzvah. Pat beseudat Hanukkah. Do you have to have bread in the meal? Yud Bet. En chayuv le'echol pat beseudat seudot sheosim lechbot Hanukkah v'dai la'asotam b'minei ma'achal b'shonim. Okay, ma'achal shonim. That's it. So you can have mizonot, anything you want, but you don't have to have any bread. Okay?
Ma'achal shonim, like different foods?
Yeah. So we're going to get to that now. Let's see. Avel Mesibat Hanukkah. Yud Gimel. Mesibot Hanukkah Shirochim B'Yeshivot. If they do in the parties inside of the yeshivot, V'chin B'chatzrot Ha'admorim, amongst the Hasidim, Ve'omrim Sham Divrei Torah, and they say over speech of the Seudot Mitzvah. Those are Seudot Mitzvah because they're in yeshiva, they're doing Torah. Mutar le'avel betoch shel someone lo alenu who's in Avel, ובתוך 12 חודש על אב ואם להשתתף עמהם. He's saying that anyone can partake in those meals that lo alenu is an avel because it's seudat mitzvah. ובלבד שלא ישמיעו שם כלי נגינה, as long as there's no musical instruments. אבל לשורר שירות ותשבחות בפה מותר. But if you have hazanim or cantors singing, that would be allowed. מאכלי גבינה and Sufganiyot, eating dairy foods, and Sufganiyot, the fried donuts. Yud Dalet. Yesh nohagim laharbot b'ma'achale gevina b'mei Chanukah. There is a custom to have different type of dairy foods. Zecher lenes shenasa al yedei Yehudit, because of the miracle that happened on Yehudit. Uminhag Yisrael Torahi, and the custom of Israel, it's Torah. It says Torah. It doesn't say halachahi. Minhag Yisrael Torahi. It's Torah. It's not halacha. Because we're going to see that right now. B'chayom noagim lechol sufganiyot mituganot b'shemen. And he says today people like to eat the donuts that are fried in oil, because of the oil of the menorah. And everything you do should be l'shem shamayim, not l'shem habeten. Sufganiyot elu nikraot shving, like we said, v'tam kisapichit bidvash. They're sweet. V'im huva'u be'emsa seudat pat. And if they came in the middle of, let's say you made hamotzi, and then for dessert, before you made Birkat Hamazon, they brought out these donuts in levarech alehem. It's always very simple. Whenever they bring out anything of mezonot, any types of cakes, even if they're sweet, during your hamotzi meal, you do not make a beracha.
Really?
That's Chacham Ovadia. Yes. Always when it's mezonot, not when it's fruits. I'm talking about mezonot. Okay? And he's recommending don't serve them in the meal. Let people say Birkat Hamazon and then serve it after the meal.
Yeah.
So whenever you get any type of cake or mezonot, Chacham Ovadia's opinion is you're ready in your hamotzi grain period of berachot. You're not making another one.
I thought because you didn't see it coming and something new that someone brought without knowing.
So it's a couple of things. When you make hamotzi, you're covered on all those things. And if you're in your own house, then that doesn't apply to you.
Own house, yeah. But if you're at someone else's house and you didn't.
Yeah, but when you made hamotzi, you already got covered by that beracha. You understand? It would still cover you.
Isn't it like when you make hamotzi, you think about what you're about to eat and you know what's about to come?
No, but
something. If my wife brings out like a happy birthday cake that I didn't know was coming, I thought I would have to do.
No. So what would be if you first, you don't have to be concerned because you're in the realm. I understand what you're saying because but when you're at home, that doesn't apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in the meal of the Birkat Hamazon, of the hamotzi, you're covered on everything. So even if you're at your friend's house, you don't know what's coming. By the way, you never know what's coming when you're at your friend's house. When you make hamotzi, you don't know what he's going to serve you.
Yeah.
And you're covered. And so that it's a standard procedure on it. Tedvav Sufganiyot hamituganot b'shemen. If you have donuts that are fried in oil, v'chen zlabia hamitugenet b'shemen. What's zlabia?
That's not wrong.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Afal pishanasu meisa ava v'kashe kiisat lechem. Even though it's made out of dough and it's heavy and thick, like bread, ubirkatan hi betchilat borem min mezonot. You say borem min mezonot, ulevasof al michya. It's afterwards. V'afilu im kavas yodu alehem v'achal mehem kede sevi'ah mevarech mezonot v'al michya. It says even though it's a dough and it's heavy and it looks like a bread, but it's sweet, I guess, and it's fried, that's going to stay in mezonot. It's and he writes over here in the brackets, v'afal pi sheyesh cholkim. ואומרים שבקביעות סעודה מברך עליהם המוציא ברכת המזון מכל מקום להלכה יש לברך מזונות ועל המחיה שלמעט בברכות עדיף ובדיעבד אם בברך עליהם קביעות סעודה המוציא ברכת המזון יצא. He's saying here, some people say you should say המוציא ברכת המזון on it. He says you don't have to do it even if you have קביעות סעודה on these fried items. He goes if someone wants to, he could, and it's okay. חימום סופגניה בשבת. Can you warm up your donuts? Your Sufganiyot on Shabbat, Tetzayin, Sufganiya, Sheyesh Betocha Me'at Riba, that has in it some jelly, Mevushelet, Ben Unzila, Mutar, Lechamema B'Shabbat, Al Gabe Plata, Hashmalit. You can, as long as you have the plata, you can put it right on top. Ad Shi'ur, Shayat Soledet Bo, Shayat Soledet Bo, until it gets hot enough, so Shayat Soledet Bo is I don't know the exact temperature, I gotta look it up, but it's, hot enough, like to be able to put on a child. Afilu im hirba merukezet bimkom echad mekevan she'arov hu yavesh. He said it's okay. The issue would be if it was a liquid, but it's only a little jelly inside. It's mostly dough. So it would be okay. Let me see on the bottom if he gives you the exact measurement. Yesh rabdit ki lefamim hariba nozelet mishum shedilula b'mayim. It says bekonditoria terem azrikata lefsufganiyah. He's saying some of the issue is that the jelly can come out of the donut. Would that be recooking? Again, lish labda ki achen hadilul nasa b'mayim mevushalim, aval im hamayim lo mevushalim yesh bechimum hasufganiyah chashash b'shum mechamat otam hamayim. He said there could be sometimes a liquid, and that liquid was not boiled before, and so the first time it would get boiled would be on Shabbat. It could be an issue. But he's saying it because it's mostly dry. It would be okay. Al Nisim bebirkat Hamazon. Bebirkat Hamazon shel Chanukah tzarich lomar al Nisim bebirkat nodeh lecha. Lifnei al hakol Hashem Elokeinu anachnu modim lach. Ve'im shachach leomro, if person forgot to say al Nisim. Kol zeman shelo izkir Hashem bechatimat haberacha chozer. Ve'im izkir Hashem eno chozer vechen lo yisayem lamedin chukecha. So if he forgot to say Al Nisim and he already started saying Ve'al Hakol and he says Baruch Atah Hashem, he doesn't go back. He doesn't say Lamidin Chukecha. He just brings Ala Aretz Al Mazon and he continues and he lost that. Ele Yachtom Ala Aretz Al Mazon. V'tov shebe'ensa harachaman yomar harachaman yaseh imanu nisim niflot k'mo she'asad avotinu b'yim hem b'zaman hazeh b'yemei Matityahu ben Yochanan Kohen Gadol. He says add after the Birkat Hamazon in the harachaman. Ve'enu rashai lomar Ala Nisim לאחר שחתם על הארץ על מזון. Okay? קודם ברכת רחם משום הפסק. He says, don't say it between על הארץ על מזון and the רחם. Let's say a guy says, no, I want to say it right now. Don't. There's a system. If you forgot it at this place, put it in the other place and you get the credit or some form of a credit. Don't stick it into random places because it don't work that way. י"ח מי שהתחיל לסעוד ביום השמיני של חנוכה, someone who started eating on the 8th day of Hanukkah, so he's on the 8th day of Hanukkah, and the meal went from before Shki'ah all the way till past. Shehu Motzei Hanukkah. Now it's already nighttime of the 9th day, which is not Hanukkah anymore. You could still say it because you.
Anything, not just Hanukkah, right? Like
it meant
even Shabbat. If you take Suda Shlishit.
Yes, we did that. We did that. I don't know if you were here yesterday. We did the Suda Shlishit yesterday and also a couple of days back. Yeah, that's right. ואין הבדל בזה בין אם המשיך לאכול בלילה ובין אם הפסיק לאכול עם חשיכה. כשיברך לאחר חשיכה צריך להזכיר על ניסים ובלבד שעדיין לא יתפלל ערבית של מוצאי חנוכה. He says you can go and say the al nisim as long as you didn't pray arvit of motzei Hanukkah.
As long as you
did not.
Did not. Oh, okay.
Once you pray the arvit, then it's a problem, it seems. So if he prayed arvit, then it's a problem. If he didn't, he also mentions if he ended the meal early, but you said Birkat Hamazon after the nightfall, you still would say Al Hanisim. Okay, and one more here. Al Hanisim beberacha me'en shalosh. Yutet beberacha me'en shalosh. Achar achilat minei mezonot o meperot shiv'at haminim. If you have mezonot or the 7 fruits of Israel in maskirin shel Chanukah kelal, you don't mention at all Chanukah. Kegon benodeh lecha al hanisim shasita labotenu. Mikol makom im ta'a v'yizkir al nisim beberacha me'en shalosh yatsa b'diavad ve'enu chozer. Interesting. So he says on the Birkat me'en shalosh al michya, you don't mention Chanukah at all. It's only the Birkat Hamazon.
There's nothing there, even.
No, there's nothing. Here, let's open up. We'll check up in the Siddur here. Let's see. And you have the Shabbat and Yom Tov.
Not true.
Let's take a look here. Here you go. Yeah, no, nothing. Take a look. You can see it's not in there. So you see, what do you have here in the Birkat Me'en Shalosh? You have Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Hashanah, and the Yom Tov and Chol HaMoed. So you have 4 classifications in Birkat Me'en Shalosh. Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah gets its own, and then you get Yom Tov's, and whether or not it's Chol HaMoed. So there you go. It doesn't get it. And kind of interesting, because he mentioned earlier that you don't have to make a meal with bread. It's not required. But you should have with mizonot.
And here you would think.
And in the mizonot, final beracha, it's not there. And in the pat, the bread, you have a mention. It's interesting, no?
Mm-hmm.
This is how the system is. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen v'amen.